guilty run. Chapter 1. The Mark. The sun hung low over the dusty plains as Silas Blake rode into town. His reputation preceded him, a bounty hunter with a keen eye and a relentless pursuit of justice. His worn hat shaded his eyes from the harsh glare as he scanned the wanted posters plastered outside the sheriff's office. One caught his attention, a face weathered by years of hardship, eyes that held a hint of desperation. The bounty was for a man named Lucas Carter, wanted dead or alive for a string of stagecoach robberies that left 2 men dead and several injured. The reward was hefty, enough to keep Silas afloat for months. Silas nodded to the sheriff as he stepped inside. The lawman eyed him warily, knowing the trail of trouble that followed men like Silas. "I'm here for Lucas Carter," Silas announced, his voice steady and sure. The sheriff hesitated, then nodded towards the wanted poster on the wall. "He's holed up in Devil's Hollow, west of here. But be careful, Blake. Carter's a dangerous man." Silas nodded in acknowledgement, his mind already calculating the best approach. He thanked the sheriff and left, the weight of the Colt revolver on his hip, a comforting presence. Chapter 2. Devil's Hollow. Devil's Hollow was aptly named, a rugged canyon that twisted through the desert like a scar on the land. Silas dismounted at the canyon's edge, leading his horse through the narrow trail that wound deeper into the shadows. As he ventured deeper, the air grew cooler and the silence thicker, broken only by the occasional echo of a bird's cry. Silas's senses were on high alert, every step calculated. He knew Carter was close. The air smelled of fear and desperation. A gunshot rang out, followed by a curse. Silas crouched behind a rocky outcrop, scanning the canyon floor below. There, amidst the shadows, he spotted movement, a figure darting from cover to cover. Silas waited, patience a virtue in his trade. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows, Carter emerged from his hiding place. He was thinner than the wanted poster depicted, eyes wild with fear and exhaustion. "Lucas Carter!" Silas called out, his voice cutting through the stillness like a knife. Carter froze, hands twitching towards his holster. "You ain't taking me alive." Silas's Colt was in his hand in an instant, the metal glinting in the fading light. "I'm giving you one chance, Carter. Surrender now, and justice will be served." Carter hesitated, torn between fight and flight, but the odds were against him, and he knew it. Slowly, he raised his hands in surrender, defeat etched across his face. Chapter 3. The Ride Back. The ride back to town was quiet, Carter secured tightly to his saddle. The weight of his crimes hung heavy between them, a reminder of the darkness that led men astray. As they approached town, the sun began to rise, casting a golden hue over the desert landscape. Silas felt a sense of satisfaction. He had fulfilled his duty, brought a fugitive to justice. But there was no joy in it, only the grim reality of a life lived on the edge of the law. They arrived at the sheriff's office to a crowd of onlookers, whispers trailing in their wake. Silas handed Carter over to the waiting deputies, collecting his reward without ceremony. He nodded to the sheriff, who watched him with a mixture of respect and caution. "You did a good thing today, Blake," the sheriff said quietly, breaking the silence that hung between them. Silas nodded, his gaze steady. "Only the guilty run," he replied, a mantra that had guided him through years of chasing shadows. As he walked away, Silas felt the weight of his Colt at his side, a reminder of the choices that defined him. There were more bounties to chase, more shadows to confront. For a bounty hunter like Silas Blake, justice was a never-ending pursuit, a journey that only the guilty sought to escape. Epilogue. In the days that followed, Silas Blake rode out of town as quietly as he had arrived. His reputation grew, whispers of his exploits spreading like wildfire across the frontier. But Silas paid them no mind. His path was clear, his resolve unwavering. Only the guilty run, he thought, the words echoing in his mind as he rode into the endless horizon.